Welcome to the Internet, my friend. How can I help you?
We're online.
All systems go!
And in your face.
In your farce. Oh, that thumping is your heart.
You are listening to the golden microphones of the IMC radio.
And
news, opinions, and your
circuit
calls.
breakers trying to get that panel working again. Oh boy.
That big.
Snap, crackle, pop.
If you
All
stop
of a
the
sudden,
machine, then you realize, whoa.
can't hear. Radio's gone. What do you do?
What kind of effect is that going to have on air?
Ask yourself this
How
question.
important is aviation to you?
You start asking yourself those questions, all right? Oh, early on in my training, I lost my panel. And, the value of a handheld. Oh, brother. Hey, everybody. Hi there, everyone. It's November 8th. It's Max Gross, a.k.a. Howie Marlin, here at the golden microphones of IMC Radio Plain Talk. And I'm flying solo today. Hoping everybody is well, and tip of the hat to John Roberts, who we haven't spoken with in quite a while. He's out there tickling the ivories, making a living, and down there in sunny Florida. And Radick, who's been insanely busy. Radick Vizikowski, our fearless leader, who has been traveling the world, opening IMC VMC clubs. And first of all, I want to thank you all very much for your participation in the clubs, and which is the basic reason for this podcast today. I'll get to in a minute. But we're brought to you this afternoon by Free Flight Systems, makers of certified all-in-one ADS-B solutions for 2020 compliance for air transport, business, military, helicopters, and general aviations. That's freeflightsystems.com. The reality is the IMC VMC program is growing dramatically. There's nothing compares to proficiency training programs, as we've learned. And the nice thing is, those of us who are engaged in it, it gets you intimately involved on a regular basis, which I wish I was involved in a regular basis. Which brings me to the subject of this topic this evening. The topic is... oh my God! The topic is trying to get a club started. I'm stammering because I don't want to be insulting, don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or make anybody feel bad, as I complain about the apathy of the pilot population where I live. It's a mixed message. It's a mixed bag. We have a handful of hangar tenants who are in and out every day. I see Livingston. I see, of course, Mike and Mark and Rob and Tom. And Bill. These guys are the hangar tenants around me who are at it pretty regularly. But there's just not enough folks from this middle ground of experience to want to get a club going. It's frustrating as all get out. 10 years ago, I belonged to EAA Chapter 1515 here in Martha's Vineyard. There were about 15 active members. We had a total of somewhere around 25. And lots of old school guys, of course, as you would imagine, and there were some commercial folks involved, and what happened, unfortunately, we had this fantastic fella, Jimmy Rogers, who was like the aviator's aviator, and I just want to tip my hat to anybody who knew him. When I talk about the aviator's aviator, he was an Apache instructor, so I believe, lifelong aviator, worked at Otis Air Force Base, and kit builds, glass airs. He had an old Ryan. He had a whole bunch of stuff, things I didn't even know about. And he had projects in the works. We brought over an air coupe, 1947 air coupe, which that's the short story. It ended up in boxes in Nantucket, and was brought over to Martha's Vineyard, and we completely rebuilt it. Frame-up restoration. It spent most of its life upside down as the engine was out getting rebuilt, the interior done, the wires, electric, everything replaced and new. And it really was quite a wonderful experience. I learned buck rivets. I learned upholstery a little bit. Was my introduction to avionics. I didn't know anything. I had just started ground school, and it was just a fantastic experience. I actually got a chance to fly it a couple of times. Yeah, the end of this story ain't so pretty, but the thing is, I finally got John Barkin. Oh, John, I haven't spoken to you in so long. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Shout out to my one of my flight instructors with my primary. He actually ran an open ground school here at KMVY, where on Thursday nights you put down $20, come on in, and you would participate in the ongoing ground school. Went on for a few years, and I was actually I assisted him the second year of it, and it was a great idea, really. We had, I don't know, a dozen or so people that were in there on a weekly basis. It's pretty damn cool. So we finally got that air coupe up and going, and I'm in the air coupe with John. We taxi out, and this guy named Buddy comes running out and goes, "What you doing in that airplane? Get out of the airplane. You can't fly that airplane." Some sort of registration or who the hell knows kind of issue. I don't, to this day, I don't know what happened. People had been flying it, blah, 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 but I didn't get a chance to fly it until sometime later when Joe Costa, a neighbor of mine who actually had celebrated, I did a documentary on him, by the way, Joe Costa. Go to aviationisland.info, aviationisland.info, and you'll see some testimonials there. That website was supposed to be my aviation background. I sort of lost interest in it a couple of years ago, but you'll see, my goings on to Sun and Fun and Air Venture and Flying Musicians, yada yada yada. I did these great documentaries though on a few aviators, and one of them was Joe Costa, who celebrated. I think we're going back about 5-6 years now, 7 years, when he had his 50th year celebration being a pilot. There are old pilots and bold pilots, and no old bold pilots. Well, Joe's one of them. Oh, Joe, I hope you're listening. My introduction to aviation, I get in his blue 150 over at Tradewind Airports, which is next to a golf course we have here on the Vineyard in Oak Bluffs. Yeah, we got it. We have a little airport called Tradewind. And what's interesting about that is that there was a time when it was incredibly active. There was a flying school there. There was I'm trying to remember her name. There was a woman that had a flying school that was very active. They had open-air T-hangars and an enclosed hangar. It was very active. Then, long story short, she passed away. All the interest waned. They tore down the T-hangars, and now there's only one hangar there, and it's managed by the land bank. You had needed to get permission to fly in through Father Nagel for years. I had permission, but I couldn't keep my plane in the air enough to make good use of it. Finally, this year, the land bank decided to open it, and it's now public. That would be Tradewind. That's Mike Alpha 44. Mike Alpha 44. It's got a nice 2,200 foot 246, and with ample runoff space on the 6 side. So it says 22, but it's longer than that, and nice trees. You got your 50-foot trees on the south side and the north, and the north, south, and east side. There's an intersecting what is now a taxiway, which was a very short runway, 1533, I believe. You can't land on that anymore. But anyway, that was a really active place. And what was, I don't know where this is going, because I was talking about Jimmy Rogers. And the interest in aviation back then, we had the EAA chapter had, like I said, a dozen or so active members. We were building the air coupe. We had other projects. There was a ultralight that somebody had started, and the frame was there. They kind of gave it up on that. And there was a goddamn turbine, some helicopter turbine in a box that Jimmy was looking to put into one of his airplanes when, unfortunately, it's horrible. The man passed away in an engine test. And so when he passed, really knocked the wind out of the enthusiasm here in Martha's Vineyard. The economy, of course, took a dive, and everything sort of came to a screeching halt. Well, I was bestowed with phenomenal luck of John Aldborg asking me to look after his Cherokee 180, which is the plane I now own. And so it gave me years of experience, which I wouldn't have had otherwise. Where am I going with this? Fast forward 10 years. Here we are. I own the plane. I got myself a hangar, and my hangar's my man cave. It's one of those, most of the hangars, the guys I walk around, I see there's just nothing in there. I mean, a tug and a shop light and a bench and a box of oil. Me? You open the door of the hangar, and the first thing it hits you is there's this huge parachute hanging from the ceiling. Half of it is about 15 feet lower than the back of the T hangar, and the front of it drops down with a slit in the middle. So when you push your plane back, it drapes over the tail, effectively closing off the rear area. And I did that because I've got a mushroom heater in there, and during the winter here in New England, turn on the heat. And with that parachute and a little more air work to keep the air from escaping, it makes that quite the man cave. I got a nice TV, fridge, coffee, computer. I got a simulator, controls, and that kind of stuff. But I actually have all the everything left over from the various clubs, everything from the various schools. When John Barkin left, he left all the instructional material, a few sets of cassettes, VHS cassettes. I still hang on to them. God knows what for. And some other stuff. Lots of the FAA and the freebies, track airport awareness, communication, stuff like that, stuff that I give away. I got lots of it. My point being, I've got a man cave full of aviation stuff. It's dripping with all sorts of hats from vendors and all sorts of aircraft parts and things. And yeah, I'll post pictures on my aviationisland.info someday. But what's my point? My point is, I'm there. I go there to relax. I go to the study because I'm working on my commercial now. And I hardly see anybody. The guys that I mentioned before that I do see from time to time don't spend too much time there. It certainly don't, other than Bill Brine and Mark from across the alley. Hardly see anybody. And my attempts to get a IMC club going back in the day, a couple of years ago, had a couple of gatherings of 2 and 3 people. And I was just like breaking my heart. I sent out letters. I sent out this letter. Now I'm kind of embarrassed about it. I sent out a letter basically saying, hey, my name's Howie Marlin. I'm kind of like crazy for aviation, looking for friends who are excited about it. And I want to start this meeting. Give me some feedback as to when you'll be around and what your interests are and what you fly, blah, blah, blah. And I sent it out to all the hangar tenants and the tails that tied down in the summer. And I got a fistful of responses, mostly from summer residents, including a guy named Peter who owns this pretty neat software company. He's an awfully nice guy, but not here during the winter. So in spite of the fact I got a couple of people together a couple of times, that was it. Then the VMC club took off, and I thought, oh great, we can get a new EAA chapter going, and sent it out at APB to all you interested wannabe aviators and this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, I got a couple of drips from this guy, a couple of drips from that girl, this and that, and that was it. That was it. Actually had somebody from the airport commission who is involved in promotions and PR for the airport who wanted to help me get involved, and she started doing some networking and some communicating, and basically came back and said, I don't know what to tell you. You're just not getting done. Just not getting it. So, here I am. Here. Now, on the, not too far from here, there's a group, up in Cranland, we got those guys from Cranland that I keep talking about, who, they've got this great group of guys who are up in, I'll remember in a second. They go off on Sunday mornings, and what is it, Taunton? Yeah, I think it's Taunton, KTAN, who go around visiting other airports and have their Sunday morning thing, which was the source of one of my early podcasts. Some of you early adopters of me from when I was involved remember this. All of a sudden, a circus arrived on a sleepy Sunday morning in the middle of winter a few years ago. Well, I was them. So I go out to Cranland to hang out. I mean, I got to fly, I don't know, it's not too low. 20 minutes out. I mean, there's also Falmouth, don't get me wrong. Falmouth Airport, which I think I'll probably I'll do a separate thing on them. I went to a fly-in to Falmouth this summer, and that was just a lot of fun. What was interesting was that this is a residential air park in Falmouth, Massachusetts. Bet lots of people don't know that. They've got a really nice 721, and it's 5 Bravo 6, which is just awesome. And that was a lot of fun. Excuse me, what did I say? Yeah, 725. And that was a lot of fun. And somebody took me around to look at the houses and the different aircraft people are working on. And like any residential air park, there was sure one hell of a selection. So that was a lot of fun. And they do have the Cape Cod Pilots Association, which they keep inviting me to attend. And apologies to you guys, Cape Cod Pilots Association, because I was all set to make a presentation to fly out there, and I forget where, in Chatham or wherever they were going to meet. And I had to run off to Sun and Fun. I wasn't going to go, but I ended up going, and I stood them up. And really, I'm embarrassed about that, and really don't know what else to say, except I took off to do the IMC Club radio from Sun and Fun, and so we did that. So I will be going out to them, and they are active. They're on Cape Cod. The Taunton Pilots Association do their thing, and they meet at Taunton, and they're at Cranland. But on the vineyard itself, nada. And since I don't have my instrument, and the life on the shore, life on the coast, for you guys who live around the coast in places like New England, where you get convection fog and radiation fog and convection fog. But my point is, yeah, you get squoze out, and you get special. You got to call in for special VFR, more often than you want, and so you get pretty crafty, and you start learning, where Plan B and Plan C are, which, by the way, is why trade wind is so damn valuable, because the prevailing winds come from the southwest, move up on 6, and the fog will move its way in and turn the KMVY into IFR because of the low fog, which hits the middle of the island and dries right out, becomes crystal clear, and it's then you can put her down in trade wind until things cool off. That's one way to work around it. But my gripe is about the lack of motivation. So I don't know what to do. I will be holding a Christmas party, the invitation open to everybody, and this will be for everybody who's interested in aviation, not just the pilots, of course, but to really try to rally things and see where things are at. But Lord knows I tried. And I got to tell you, it's interesting listening to Radick tell the stories of going around the country where the IMC, the interest in the IMC and VMC proficiency motivated people to get together, motivated them to start the club, and motivated them to get Radick down there. I was like, damn, man, that's awesome. So it's great to know that things are alive and well. The stats from AirVenture were phenomenal. The stats from Sun and Fun were phenomenal. I'll tell you this. Let me move the subject a little bit, and that is, years ago when I first started doing this podcast, I remember complaining to people that I had the auspicious, the rare option to be up in a tower, and I'm looking down, and we're joking to each other about all the gray hairs. There's nothing but gray hair out there, and which we turned to each other and said, if we don't change this, in general aviation, the way we know it, certainly will, is effectively on its way out and won't last very long. Well, miracle of miracles. Up from the same crow's nest this year at Sun and Fun, looking at with this very same guy. We're looking down. I go, you remember when I talked about that? He goes, yeah, I do. He goes, we were actually talking about how many kids there are here. And that was absolutely amazing. Not just that, how many girls were at Sun and Fun. Now, many of you know that I really worked with Women of Aviation Worldwide, International Women of Aviation Worldwide. And I tried very hard to get that program going here in the U.S. Peggy's got her program here, which is dominant in the U.S. and doing a phenomenal job. And Peggy Chamberlain, the Dr. Chamberlain, I really tip my hat to you. And that's phenomenal work. And it's just, getting women, getting all of their abilities, expertise, including, of course, networking, everything that the social aspects of having both men and women involved in something that benefits everybody. And the running joke of, how do you get young men involved in something, bring young women? Well, we've got brilliance, we've got expertise, fledgling expertise in these phenomenally smart young ladies who definitely showed up in big numbers, along with their male counterparts, and the young men showed up as well. And so my point being, it was amazing. We're looking out and we're joking about how many kids there are, and groups of kids from various organizations. The high schools, of course, down in Sun and Fun, you've got the aviation high school, which is just such a brilliant idea, and the other groups that came in from all over the U.S. in mass. So that was very exciting. So we know that there's a change. We know that something is happening, and it's really good, and that's a wonderful thing. So, go out there and rattle some fences. I keep telling people, bring them onto the inside, throw a party, have a burger, have them sit in the airplane. And, listen to this. A couple of weeks ago, I work at a hospital and emergency clinician. I'm a substance use disorder team, and one of the nurses has a 2-year-old who she brings to the playground at our airport all the time, and I kept inviting her to go bring her son down to the hangar, and we'll fart around with the airplane. Well, she finally did. She brought him, and Katie, this is for you, and phenomenal experience. He didn't want to wear the headset, but starting the airplane didn't spook him. I thought that was going to be kind of weird. But had Mom sit in the front with him on her lap, and we just taxied around. Got on the cooperation of the Tower, who it was a great call. It's the Tower, Cherokee 7909 Whiskey with you at T Hangars. We don't need ATIS because we're not going flying. What I'd like to do is show a student pilot around. I am with me today is the mother of a 2-year-old, the world's youngest student pilot. And we'd like to taxi around the airport. So she vectored me all over both runways, all the taxiways, and he had just a brilliant time. Katie had a wonderful time, and I can tell you, she's reported me that when she takes him to the airport now, he talks about how he's playing, and keeps pointing to every plane, going, how he's playing. One of the better things we did is we did a high-speed taxi. Now, none of the rubber left the road, but he was flapping his hands. He was so excited, and it was like, the Tower was laughing, and everybody had such a great time. So, things like that, I hope make an impression. Certainly made an impression on her, and I'm hoping it makes an impression on her son. It's things like this that I'm hoping you guys are doing as well. We're in pretty rarefied air and literally and figuratively. And it's an amazing experience to be able to turn people onto it. So I certainly encourage you to go ahead and do that. One of the things I've been doing, we live pretty close to Hyannis, have a couple of great shopping centers there, so I bring people to go shopping, and it's really a lot of fun. A very short flight, 15, 20 minutes maybe at the max, from hangar to hangar, and turning people on to flying who have not flown before or not flown often or not flown in a small plane, and just spreading the joy. So that's kind of cool. They always chip in for fuel, and I'm working on my commercial, but of course I don't take any gratuities for it. But it's a really nice thing to do for folks, and I hope you guys do it too. So, I'm just sort of getting this off my chest. It's kind of hard to get motivation. It's kind of hard to get enthusiasm, to rally the enthusiasm. I'm not quitting. I'm definitely not stopping. At the very least, what I did is I took a break I had to deal with changes in my responsibilities. I had to get a license. Long story short, I really had my nose in the books, and had to put my nose down. Wasn't able to come up for air. Podcasts just were not on weren't on my radar. And here I'm just apologizing again for that very, very long void of not doing podcasts. And it literally was because of various responsibilities that I had to address. I had a number of tasks and a license to acquire, and change of responsibilities, which made things, holy cow. I mean, during this transition period, I really was burning the candle at three ends. It was crazy. 60 hours and sometimes more. It was just crazy making. But that seems to calm down, and so I can tell you I'm pretty happy about the way things are going now. And one of the things that I did not do in the last podcast, and I really want to thank Free Flight Systems for their Ranger ADSB, one of our sponsors, promoting the Ranger system. Free Flight Systems came up with a great solution for ADSB, and it's very reasonable and utilizes some of the existing hardware. So we'd like to thank them. It's been interesting. We will continue to provide these podcasts for you for as long as we can. And I would just want to give a tip of my hat to John Roberts, who I know is out there listening somewhere, playing on his piano, and Radick Visikowski, who's traveling the world, opening new IMC Club radios programs. So without further ado, and ado mean you, I just want to say it's been a treat sending you my thoughts of the day. Hope I'm not boring you. Log on to aviationisland.info. Check out some of the documentaries. The one about Smokin' Joe, Joe Costa, will definitely make you laugh. There's some others that you'll find interesting. I actually have a rocket scientist, Bob Stone. We're real rocket scientists, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So for Radick, for John, and for everybody else involved in this, this is Max Gross, a.k.a. Howie Marlin, signing off. We'll see you next time. Keep the sun on your face and the wind on your ass. Be well.
Welcome to Plane Talk on WIMC Radio. The views and opinions expressed on Plane Talk are of the host, its guests, and callers. They do not necessarily reflect the views of the IMC Club or IMC Club International.
National Departure Quebec, 0954, runway 25 right for departure, taxiway Echo 54.
See, this takes so much energy, guys. All right. JetBlue 1012, Lieutenant November, join Alpha, contact ground on 49, good afternoon.
6 knots.
Clear to land, my 33 left 4.